With Battlefield 2042 less than 4 months away from release, I thought it was time to take a deeper look at its direct predecessor. No, not that one. Not that one either. Closer, but still not quite. There we go. From what we've seen so far, 2042 seems to take the most inspiration not from the latest entries in the franchise, but instead from the almost 8-year-old Battlefield 4. In this video, I take a look at what makes Battlefield 4 so special, and why you should be playing it if you are hyped for Battlefield 2042. In the reveal trailer for 2042, I called it Battlefield 4 2, and with the release of the gameplay trailer, I stand by this statement. In addition to the modern setting and aesthetic, Battlefield 2042 seems to be embracing the dynamic Sandbox-style gameplay of Battlefield 4, more so than some of the gameplay mechanics of 1 or 5. What I mean by this is that Battlefield 4 gives players the tools and toys necessary to create their own fun within a large playground, whereas Battlefield 1 focused on atmosphere and immersion, and Battlefield 5 focused on some gameplay elements and, other things. Battlefield 4 focused on choice. The sheer number and variety of weapons, attachments, gadgets, vehicles, and tools gave players a greater level of choice in how they wanted to play the game, arguably more than any other game in the series. And while it shares many similarities with Battlefield 3, expanded gameplay elements heightened this level of player agency. Rental servers with custom rules also allowed players a greater degree of freedom, although still falls short of the modding capabilities of older Battlefields. This style of gameplay can be incredibly rewarding, fun, and interesting, and the variety is what has kept me coming back to this game time and time again since release, and has created some really awesome memories of those epic Battlefield moments that we all love. But why is Battlefield 4 such an effective sandbox? I mentioned choice and variety, but I do feel like the setting contributes a lot to this dynamic gameplay as well. I adore Battlefield 1, and as cool as the World War I setting is, it intrinsically limits the gameplay elements that can be present within the game. Even as ahistorical as it is, it still can't have the variety of gadgets, vehicles, and weapons that a modern setting can and should have. This, in addition to more modern maps, such as urban environments with lots of verticality, creates a playground for those tools to shine, and lets you tackle objectives with your own style of tactics, or even set your own mini objectives and goals. That's not to say it's perfect, and the gameplay could always be taken down an even more dynamic and adaptable route, which I hope Battlefield 2042 does, but there's still something really engaging about how Battlefield 4 provides player agency and the ability to play the game however you want to. Most watching this are probably very familiar with the series, but on the chance that someone clicks this video wondering if Battlefield 4 is worth playing in 2021, here's a spoiler, it is. Here are some of the basics of the game. Battlefield 4, like other games in the series, features large maps with mixed infantry and vehicle combat. Players can choose to play as one of 4 classes, each with their own unique gadgets and category of primary weapons. The Assault is your aggressive class focused on scoring kills and breaking through the line with their assault rifles, and keeping allies in the fight with medical and revive gadgets. A good all-rounder. The Engineer is your vehicle-focused class, both in taking down enemy armor and repairing and supporting friendly armor. The Engineer has impressive killing power up close with their personal defense weapons or submachine guns. The Support class is your Heavy, featuring LMGs that can easily suppress enemies with sustained fire. The Support also provides ammunition and a variety of indirect fire tools to assist teammates. Lastly, there's the Recon, the long-range sniper class. The Recon also has gadgets to help spot and detect enemies as well. Each class has its role to play on the battlefield. However, as I said before, Battlefield 4 is all about choice, and if you want to play an aggressive close-range Recon or a long-range Engineer, you can, as Battlefield 4 features 3 standard categories of weapons that all classes share, these being shotguns, carbines, and DMRs. Learning how each class excels at different roles and tasks, and having the ability to adapt to circumstances, will greatly improve your effectiveness on the battlefield. Battlefield 4, like other Battlefields, also features squads, which is a group of players you can choose to join that give you certain benefits such as spawning options, more points, and other bonuses, so make sure you're always in one. Vehicles play a huge role in Battlefield 4 and can be a great tool or an absolute nightmare to deal with. Jets, helicopters, tanks, anti-aircraft, LAVs will all be present in numbers on the battlefield, and learning the strengths, weaknesses, and capabilities of each one is also vital to your success as a player. Battlefield 4 features many different types of maps and game modes that I won't cover here. However, the primary mode is Conquest, a staple of the Battlefield franchise. If you're a new player, here's a quick review of what Conquest is. Players win by reducing the other team's points or tickets to 0. Each kill removes a ticket, however, capture points around the map will also reduce tickets automatically when controlled by your team. Capturing and holding the various points is necessary for victory in Conquest, so make sure you are always playing the objective. Okay, with the basics out of the way, let's talk a little bit more about the gameplay specifics of Battlefield 4. The gunplay in 4 is some of my favorite in the series, although personally I still prefer Battlefield 3's, and can be very skill-based and rewarding. Almost every gun feels good with great animation work, incredible sound design, and solid mechanics. The gunplay is more than just passable, and while it's not perfect, it is excellent. Laying down heavy fire with an LMG, running and gunning with a submachine gun, sniping at long range, it just all feels amazing and fun. And although I will admit sniping in general is a bit less satisfying than in Battlefield 1 or 5, it's also much more difficult and skill-based in my opinion. But seeing as how I suck at sniping, this is probably why I prefer 1 and 5 in this respect. Vehicle gameplay in Battlefield 4 can be a blessing or a curse. While incredibly fun to use and play around with, vehicles can also be nigh invincible harbingers of doom that wreak havoc on the puny mortals below. Good pilots and tankers can be an absolute nightmare to deal with, and on the off chance that you're actually able to slay one of these demigods, can be reborn anew, more powerful than ever, as they return almost immediately with a new vehicle. This leads to one of my complaints with Battlefield 4, is that the vehicle spam can sometimes be out of control. That being said, there's a reason I come back to Battlefield 4 over and over after all these years, and as far as shooting and gameplay mechanics goes, is some of my favorites of all time. Battlefield 4 was one of the best looking shooters on release, and to this day, almost 8 years later, this still shows. The game still holds up for me, enough that I'm not really distracted when playing, and in fact I still marvel at some of the visuals present within the game. While it doesn't have many of the newer graphical bells and whistles, it is more than eye-pleasing to this day. Years of patches and improvements have made the game extremely well optimized at this point, with reports of it running very smoothly on most types of rigs. However, it was a painful road to get here, as Battlefield 4 was a complete disaster at launch, and a broken and almost unplayable mess. Many of the effects still look fantastic, with some really incredible lighting and smoke effects present on some of the maps. Some of the Levolutions, while quite gimmicky to be fair, are still some of the most impressive sights you can see in a multiplayer shooter. Where I noticed some aging is some texture effects and just how empty many of the smaller areas of the maps are, especially with the indoor environments. A lack of clutter and objects does look a little strange, but is also less things within the environment for me to get stuck on, so I don't really mind their absence. Overall, Battlefield 4 remains a gorgeous game, and well worth the price of admission on visuals alone. Bad Company 2 was really the first Battlefield which took sound design to the next level for FPS games, in my opinion, and that tradition of amazing work has carried forward throughout the series, with Battlefield 4 being no exception here. Jets screaming in a dogfight above, grenades exploding nearby, bullets whizzing overhead, all paint a picture of the chaotic battlefield the player finds themselves on. The teams at DICE have only gotten better and better in my opinion, and I think the sound design of 4 is a bit overshadowed by 1 and 5 at this point. However, it still sounds fantastic, and features some really cool sound engineering that heightens the immersion and enjoyment of the game. I did want to mention a few of the gameplay weaknesses that persist within Battlefield 4 in my opinion. There are many quality of life improvements made with 1 and 5 that do not exist in 4, such as seeing how close medics are when downed, improved movement such as sliding, squad revives, vehicle damage models and ammunition, improved micro-destruction, and many others. In addition to these missing features, other gameplay elements can cause quite a bit of frustration for players as well. Although a plethora of DLC has improved the situation somewhat in my opinion, Battlefield 4 featured really weak maps at launch, with some very poor design and flow, a significant downgrade when compared to the base maps in Battlefield 3. And even though I touted the variety and customization, some of the differences in attachments and weapons can be a bit arbitrary here. I mentioned vehicle spam as a large issue, and one of my favorite modes in Battlefield is Rush, and for some reason it just does not work for me in Battlefield 4, probably mostly due to, again, poor map design. However, all that being said, even years after launch, Battlefield 4 remains one of the most fun and engaging multiplayer shooters available now, and with the hype around 2042 is more populated and popular than ever. On PC, I have no issues finding full servers, and in fact EA recently had to expand the server capacities to meet the demand of new and returning players. Whether you're a veteran of the series or brand new, Battlefield 4 is still definitely worth your time, and is looking to be one of the best ways to prepare for the launch of Battlefield 2042. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you on the battlefield, my friends. Until next time.